Essential Genealogist, podcast interviews with storytellers, genealogists, and podcasters. Hello everyone, this is Coach Carole. I'm really excited today. I am interviewing Annie Pateman. Annie Pateman is a friend, a Toastmaster, and an author. Annie recently wrote her book, The Strength Within. Hi Annie, how are you?
Hi Carole, I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for inviting me to your live cast.
You're very welcome. This is something new that I have been learning to do, and I feel that it's a really useful tool for you as an author to get used to as well. Today we're using StreamYard, which is a piece of software that allows you to stream to multiple places simultaneously, but you can do the same with Zoom and live cast that way, or directly in Facebook. There are a number of different options these days. And it's really neat because you try to just have 5 to 10 minutes, no more than 20, in your live cast. And people, if they're interested, will see that online and possibly come in and chat with you. So Annie, I'm really interested in the process and the reason why you wrote The Strength Within. And I see you've got your website up. Could you walk us through, please, and tell us why you wrote the book?
Well, I wrote the book because due to my story, which I should actually explain first, I'm a 3 times cancer survivor and first diagnosed 40 years ago when I was 26 years old. I'd been in pain for a very, very long time, for quite a number of months, and I'd gone from one doctor to another and they couldn't tell me what was wrong with me. I was eventually diagnosed after searching for 18 months for an answer, but at this time I was also pregnant. The diagnosis came at last, which was bone cancer, and as to have a reasonable chance of survival, they suggested that I have my left leg amputated where the pain was. But at this time I had a lump the size of a tennis ball on my knee, which was the actual tumour. The difficulty with this was that there was a high risk that the baby would not survive the trauma of the surgery.
Yes, so I realised that you were pregnant at the time. That is really tough.
Yeah. So it was like a double-edged sword. On one hand, to survive, I'd have my leg amputated, and on the other hand, it was a risk to the baby's life. But it all turned out well. I survived, and the baby survived. So anyway, I would tell people the story, and over the years, people said, "Look, you really do need to write a book to help other people." So I started that 11 years ago. That process.
Wow, 11 years ago you started. Wow. And you say your child survived. What age is your child now?
She's 40.
Wonderful.
Just turned 40.
Yeah.
She's got 2 children of her own. So
that's wonderful.
So
what does your daughter think about the book?
Well, interesting you should ask me that, because obviously I gave her a copy, and I think she only got to the first 2 or 3 chapters and she just could not read the book any further. So I always thought when she becomes her mother herself one day that she will really understand what I kind of went through. And so she just got too emotional for her and she couldn't read. It's not that it was a bad book. It's just that it was just too emotional for her. She just couldn't continue reading it. And I think one day when she's a little older, she might go back to it. But that's okay in her own time.
I can understand that. It is a traumatic experience and very close to home. So you started writing the book 11 years ago. What was your process in writing the book? How long did it take to write a chapter and all that sort of writer stuff?
Well, the first thing I did, I thought it would be really easy. I just opened my laptop. I had a lovely glass of wine beside me. I was in a wonderful location. I was actually in the mountains in New South Wales. My husband went fishing, and I thought it's nice and quiet here in a beautiful cabin, like something you'd read in another book, and I'll just start writing. And I got as far as one page and was stuck, and I just couldn't go any further. And I shut the laptop lid, and that was it. And until another year later, and I wrote another page, and I just got stuck. I had all these forks in the road. I didn't know which direction to go into. And it was 6 years ago, I met a fellow called Andrew, who was a writer and also a mentor. And he mentored people and helped people with structuring their stories. And I met him, and we had an hour Skype meeting. And in that hour, I had developed 20 chapter headings.
Wow.
Together with him in having a chat. And once I had those chapter headings, I knew exactly what I was going to do and what I was going to write.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's just that sort of bit of a jolt, a helper, a mentor that you need sometimes to get past being stuck. And I do know Andrew, and he would be quite delightful to hear you sing his praises, because being able to structure the book, you need to have a sense of where it's going. And the 20 chapters in that one session, that sounds awesome. Chapter headings, I should say. So, Annie, when you got on a roll and then you began to fill out those 20 chapters, did you write more than the 20 chapters, or did you prune them?
No, I did write more. I was lucky enough to find a wonderful editor called Ellie. Her name's Ellie. And through another friend who'd written a book, and she was just brilliant. She managed, because what I did, I haven't done a writing course or anything. So I just tell people I wrote from the heart. And all I did was just whatever was in my head, I wrote. I did reread it just to kind of make it make sense after I'd finished it. I think with myself, I had 23 chapters, end up with 23. And then once Ellie got into it, and then she'd just come back with, there's no flow here, or you need to elaborate here, or the chronological order was out of line, and I'd go back and fix all those recommendations. So I ended up with 27 chapters.
Wow. Okay. So that means quite a number of pages. So I'm interested to know how many pages are in that book.
It's only 170 pages. So it's just right here. It's not that thick a book. I think the way the publisher printed it, so there's, the writing is quite...
Yeah, it's quite large, yeah. And I see photos in there as well.
Yes, I have got photos in there. I was only allowed to choose 12 photos to go in the book, so you can imagine out of 67 years to 12 photos, it was a bit of a challenge to select the ones that I thought would be relevant for the book. So that was a challenge, yeah.
All right. So I see you have your website in front of us. This is where people can find out about you. What is the address that they need to go to? It's
www.anniepatemanauthor.com.au.
Wonderful. And can we buy from your site, or do we need to go elsewhere?
Yeah, you certainly can buy from my site. The advantage to that is that if you buy from my site, I give you a personally signed copy, or I personally sign that copy of the book and send it to you personally. Otherwise, I have quite a number of sites where you can buy it from, which you can see here. If you click on any of those links, that'll take you directly to the purchase place for
Excellent.
my book.
Okay, so Barnes and Noble is American, is it?
Yep. Yes.
Yep. And then
Booktopia,
I recognise Booktopia as
Australian.
and then Amazon, of course, is worldwide.
Yes. And it's also available as an ebook and also available as an audiobook.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because when I Googled you today, I found at the top of the results from Googling The Strength Within by Annie Pateman, it came up immediately with an option for me to have a copy, or at least to listen to your book for a short time through Scribed.
Yeah.
So I was interested in what you did as the process of publishing your book. Who is the publisher, by the way?
Austin Macaulay.
Okay, and they're an Australian firm?
They're in the UK.
Oh, United Kingdom. All right. What made you choose them?
Well, they chose me, actually. I did submit my book to a number of publishers, and they were, at the time, the only ones that accepted my manuscript. And I was quite happy with that. I didn't really want to, because my age is a bit against me. I felt I didn't really have the time to go searching for other publishers. So I was happy with their the contract that they offered me. And the only thing is, of course, if you're writing a book and you're having an overseas publisher, one thing I learned from this, which was an expensive lesson, postage is incredibly expensive when they're posting your books to you. So if you do have the time, I would recommend that you try and find a local publisher where your postage costs aren't as high. Don't outweigh the actual sales of your book.
Right. Okay. Well, that's very good advice for the writers that might be listening in today. What else would you like to tell us about your website and the book itself?
Well, I was thrilled. I've just got feedback from my first audiobook listener. She had planned on listening to it in her car because she was planning a trip from Queensland to New South Wales. And when she purchased it, and I spoke to her a couple of days later, she said, "I have a bone to pick with you, Annie." And I said, "What? What have I done?" She said, "I just started listening to your book just to listen to a couple of pages to get an idea of it, and I could not put it down." So she ended up listening to the whole lot in one day, because it's 6.5 hours on audiobook. And she didn't save it for her car trip, so she was disappointed she wasn't going to listen to it in the car. But, of course, she could listen to it again. She said she just could not put it down. And that's what I'm finding, just the feedback I'm getting is it's an inspirational read, and it does inspire people to just think of the positives in their lives more than the negatives, especially at this time where we've had COVID halting our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I can understand that particular reader's feedback, and that must be really inspiring you, knowing that it has touched someone's heart so much that she's read the whole thing or listened to the whole thing in a day. In talking about inspiration, do you have plans for another book?
I do have plans for another book. It just popped into my mind. I was going through some old text messages, and I noticed with one of my girlfriends, my girlfriend is a really big writer when she does text messages. They're like heart stories. And when I was reading them and then read my responses, and I thought, gee, there might be something in this. So I'm thinking about just pretty much writing out those text messages and calling it the book Messages from Two Adorable Friends.
Right. Something along those lines. That sounds fabulous. Yes. Yeah. Okay. It reminds me of letters from ladies or something. I think I sent you something about that book. But that would have its own appeal. That's great.
It's sort of a modern version from the letter writing books.
Yeah.
There was 96 Channing Avenue or something like that, where a man and a woman were writing to each other for many, many years and never met.
Number 10 Charing Cross Road.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so I guess this is
that one was made into a film.
They did. They did.
So your new one could be the same.
Yeah. So a movie about people texting. So I'm not sure if that'd be that exciting, but I don't know. Anyway, it's a thought there, so I might.
Yes, that's a great thought. Annie, what we'd like to do now is just finish watching your website. So I'm going to remove it from the live cast. If you could stop sharing now. And then I wanted to ask you another question. And I was going to share my screen with you and the audience, because when I found some information about you, I was intrigued. And I wanted to go to this search that you can now see that I did for The Strength Within by Annie Pateman. And it came up with this scribed right at the very top, Read The Strength Within online by Annie Pateman. So I immediately went into that one, and this is what I found. So I can now read free for 30 days, apparently. And this is created by Scribd, SCRIBD. And I knew it was yours, and I recognise the cover, and the publisher is Austen Macaulay. So can you tell me about this? You know, what's the go here with audiobooks?
Well, I wanted an audio book. I wanted to create an audio book because there are an awful lot of people out there that prefer to listen to a book. They're so busy these days. They prefer to listen to a book while they're gardening or driving the car, going on road trips, doing the housework, and so forth. But also there's an awful lot of people who have sight difficulties. They may be blind or have a vision impaired. So a lot of people like in that, you know, because I have a disability myself, so I'm really directing it to people with disabilities also that can't read or even can't even hold a book. And the third category, other than the people with disabilities, is I don't think I've got a third category. That's it. That's either very, very busy or directing towards, and people who just sadly can't read at all. So I'd like to keep those people informed, and you know, so they have the benefit of listening.
Absolutely. So, you know, part of being a successful author is knowing your audience and knowing their specific criteria, their needs, and so you can cater for that. That's awesome. So when I came back to have a look at, well, where else is the book available from, I was amazed. I can get it at Amazon, I can get it at Booktopia, at Dymocks, and Google Books. Goodreads has some
reviews on Goodreads.
Reviews, yes, Goodreads is a favourite place of mine, and ebooks. And then here we have your website, which is what we were looking at before. So it's www.anniepatemanauthor.com. And here I am back on your site again.
Yes.
And so I've enjoyed listening to you today. And the whole intent, of course, was for us to explore how you could do some live casts, especially in February. Can you tell us why?
Well, February the 28th is the first anniversary of my book being published. And I did have a book launch organised for the 22nd of March, but we all know what happened. I live in Melbourne, Australia, so we were pretty much in lockdown for 7-8 months. So every time there was a window of opportunity, it shut fairly quickly. So I haven't really had an official book launch. So with the first anniversary coming up, I'm planning to have a celebration online and inviting all my friends to come and join me to celebrate my first year as a published author.
Woohoo! That sounds really exciting. So roll on February 28th. Yeah. Well, I hope that today you've learned a few little tricks along the way. I'm only a very new user of live casting, and I've loved it. I've found that it actually gives me so much more exposure in social media and places like Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for what I do. And of course, that's all about writing courses and helping people with their family history. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Annie. Do you have any final words to give advice for a new writer?
I would I would say do not overthink your writing. I'd suggest that just write. Just write what you write. I wrote from the heart, but don't write from the mind, if that makes sense. Because if you overthink it, then you're criticizing your writing or you're doubting your writing. So I would just be confident that what you're writing is the right thing.
Thanks, Annie. That makes a lot of sense to me, because I understand that whole fear of the imposter syndrome creeping in when I do my writing. And certainly you've got your audience in mind, you know your target, and you know you've got a message to send out to those people who your book will make a difference for in their lives. So thanks once again, Annie. I wish you good luck for the anniversary on February 28th, and I'll be looking for live casts from you.
Okay. And thank you so much, Carole, for giving me your time and doing this fantastic interview. And your questions were brilliant. I'm really thrilled. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. It was a delight. So now I will end the broadcast for everyone. But if you're wanting to read The Strength Within, don't forget that you can go across to Annie's website at anniepatemanauthor.com.au, and I will post that URL underneath this live cast so that you know exactly where to go when you've finished listening today. So thank you once again, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Carole.
Bye.
Bye.